And there we go.
Well, it is so great to be with you today, Pearl. And I haven't heard too much about your story. I know a few little bits. So I'm really looking forward to finding out all about who is Pearl Jarrett,
Ooh.
what's your story, and unpacking a few things that maybe God is doing in this time, because I know He is raising up creatives in a space for such a time as this. So it
Yeah.
is a real privilege to connect with you. But just in a few kind of brief kind of introduction, if I said, who is, and we'll unpack all the rest of your journey,
Oh
but
my
who
God.
is Pearl Jarrett?
I call myself CEO of the Jarrett Foundation and CEO of a couple of things, but followed by disruptive change maker. That's me. I love the fact that I have the ability to go in and disrupt things and change things. Just that old adage, when they used to say, "If it's not broken, don't fix it." No, because if that was the case, we'd never get innovation, would we? We'd never get innovation. We'd still be riding horses, wouldn't we?
Somebody needs to come in with
Somebody needs to
something fresh.
go, yeah, it's not broken, but hey, I'm just going to change it anyway to see if we can get something else. So that's what I do. And that has come out of living a life where I absolutely categorically feel I have nothing to lose.
Well, I did read a little bit of your story, and I know I read that when you were 40 years old, you were quite depressed. You were not very happy. Can you
Mm,
just tell me before we go into what changed,
yeah.
because I mean, 40 years for some people sounds like a lifetime.
Yeah.
And and I know that people say life begins at 40. I felt like the same in many ways, that there was
Mm,
fresh, new, something new. I think
yeah.
you have a lot of understanding. But what kind of was going on prior to that?
I think when I hit 40, I looked at my life and I just thought, what have you done? I mean, literally, Pearl, what have you what have you done of significance? My career, I didn't have a career. I was sort of jobbing, it's sort of, I sang and I did some sort of temporary secretarial work and this, and it was seemed like a bit of this, bit of that. And I had a wonderful husband, and I had three really great children. But career-wise, my life, I felt totally and completely unfulfilled in every area. And I just thought, this is terrible. You need to do something, get a career, get a life, something. And I went into depression, and the depression got worse and worse and worse until I was suicidal, and yeah, it was really bad. But I mean, it was culminating with lots of other things, and it was just a really horrible time, really,
Do
for
you
me.
think that, I know I have three grown-up children,
Mm,
and there's a point at which, as they are growing older, it's
mm,
like your fulfillment, as a mother, that, that in itself, I think
mm,
is huge. What we're investing into our children who can make such a difference in this world
mm,
is massive. And I think sometimes people undervalue how important motherhood is. However, as they're sort of growing up and they don't need you as much, maybe leaving home, going to university, getting jobs, or even
mhm.
college, that then I think as a mother, you're starting to question, because it's a different space. Is that perhaps something that had an impact?
That happened to me afterwards. When I was 40, my kids were still fairly young at that point ish, and well, they were just like just teenage, just early teens, maybe sort of 13, something like that. And so they weren't really. I went through what you have described, probably about 5 years later. But during that time, it really was just looking at my life and just thinking, your life is pitiful. I mean, it was just really, I just couldn't find anything that I could touch to go, well done, you. other than my family, my husband and my children, there was nothing. Yeah.
So before we kind of talk about what happened, that
Yeah.
turning point,
Yeah.
where was your faith? What was your relationship with Jesus like throughout your life?
Oh man, that's a good one. I've been, excuse me, like everybody else, through peaks and troughs. Grew up in the church, so my father was pastor of the church. So I'm a PK, pastor's kid. So I've seen every kind of church that there is, and so some of it I was serious, and some of it I wasn't so serious. As I've got older, I've become definitely more serious to the point I am now, where I'm just like, this is who I am, this is what I do, and I will not be moved. But but it wasn't always like that. It was always kind of, okay, I'm here today. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not sure about it tomorrow.
So would you say then this crunch point came
Yeah.
when you had a certain diagnosis? Can
Hmm.
you tell us what happened and the impact of that?
Oh, so some years later, you would think, um, I was diagnosed with cancer. So I had tumor in my stomach, massive tumor in my stomach. And you would think, on top of the fact that I was quite depressed anyway, and that would just kind of tip me over the edge. But it had the adverse effect on me. I really kind of, I remember sitting in the hospital room and I counted 9 tubes, 9 tubes. Everything I needed to keep me alive, I was plugged into. And I said to the Lord, I said, do you know what, God? If you get me out of this, I'm going to start all over again. I'm going to have a clean sheet, like a white sheet of paper, and I'm just going to like pretend. People say born again. It was without the sort of accepting Christ in the way that the traditional way. It for me it was like a born again moment where I thought, I've literally just been born. Suppose I was just born. I mean, okay, I'm sort of late 40s at this point, so mid to late 40s. But putting that aside, let's just suppose you could start your life again and you could just be anything you wanted to be, do anything you wanted to do, and your life counted for something. Every day you made it count. Every day you made it worthwhile. Every day you were so glad to be here that you would do something significant. And I decided I would do that. So what I did, I drew up this list, right? I drew up this list, this bucket list, right? And of all the things I ever wanted to do that either I talked myself out of or I allowed other people to talk me out of. So I drew up this list and I had this long list. And I thought, right, and I want to run an international charity, children's charity. Because at the time, there was the earthquake that happened in Haiti, and there was this big fundraising drive, and the DC was collecting money, and billions went down to Haiti. And it was a year later, and they were still living in tents. And I was just like, where'd the money go?
Mhm.
What do they do with it? And I just thought, if I had a fraction, if I had that much, man, I tell you, I'd be down in Haiti. I could do this, I could do that, and I'd be sorting out the water and the housing and this. So I thought, you know what? And I don't know why. I just thought to myself, I could do a better job. I don't know why I thought that. I just thought, you know what, I could do a better job. So I thought, right, I'm going to run an international charity. That's all I'm going to do. So that was the first thing on my list. Oh yeah, just no small plans.
No, you went straight in at the top.
Oh yeah, let's do that. And then and I want to be a doctor. That's what I want to be. I want to be a doctor. Yeah. Uh,
Is
and
this
I,
a
and
physical medical doctor
I,
or a doctorate doctor?
doctorate. Oh, you don't want to call me if you're not well. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. So I thought I want a doctorate. Because I thought to myself, I want a title, but I don't want a churchy title. I wasn't, all my family are sort of ministers, pastors, deacons. I thought, nah, I don't want any of those. So I want a title, but I just want a non-churchy title. That's what I put down. So I thought, doctorate, there you go. Oh, it was really, my list was really very much kind of, yeah, and that. And I said, right, when I was younger, I wanted to be an actor. But growing up in a Caribbean house, acting is not a real job. Acting is a
I
hobby.
was a dancer.
So,
I know that one.
so acting for me was out of the question. So I thought, yeah, I'm big now. I'm a big woman. I can do that if I want to. Actor, be an actor. So I had all these things. I had a long list of things I wanted to do. And so when I was able, to, and I was well enough, I came out of hospital. I had a consultancy that I was running. It was kind of bumpy along the bottom. I mean, it was like doing okay-ish. I just packed it in. I said, right, that's it. I'm going to do the first thing on my list. I'm going to start my international charity. I knew somebody in the Gambia and emailed to him. I said, right, I'm coming out. And then a couple of weeks later, I was in the Gambia. That was that. Never looked back.
You remind me a little bit of me in the sense of my husband said to me when I was like, I just knew God had put in my heart to do film.
Yeah,
And then the tsunami hit, and we'd been out past Sri Lanka on the way to a particular wedding.
yeah,
And then my kids were like really looking at Sri Lanka and saying, you know, what about this person? What about that person? I thought,
yeah,
I've got to do something. I can't just sit back. I've got to do
yeah, yeah.
something. And in the end, my husband said, hey, you just did a weekend. It was a weekend, 2-day film school. He said, you just done film school. Yeah, all of 2 days. I actually did 2 weekends in the end. And then he said,
Wow.
go out there. And I ended up going out to Sri Lanka, filming and setting up a charity.
Yeah, see, that's what I would do. So that's the kind of stuff I would do. 100%. 100%. And people would go, what? And I'd be like, yeah, I could do
There's
this.
a need.
There's a
Yeah,
need. If not me, who? You know.
exactly.
So
That's a
yeah, so
good
I
point.
decided, right. So I started the charity, then did that. I went down the list and I'm like, okay, want a doctorate. Okay. I went to school, that did that. And then I went,
Can
okay.
I ask what it was in?
My doctorate, okay, that's a whole nother story. It's a long story. But we'll come back to that. And and then the next one was be an actor. Be an actor. So I went, right. So within if we have time, remind me to come back to the doctorate one because it's a great story, but I'm gonna get to the point first. So I said, so within 2 weeks of deciding be an actor, I for drama school. So I actually went to drama school, got in, and I was the oldest one in my class.
And is this like a 3-year course or 1 year? What?
So it's a part-time drama school. So it was 2, 3 evenings per week. And so I went in there, and as I said, everybody was the age of my children. So it was the most intimidating thing I'd ever done. But you know what? I sat there one day and I just thought, don't be intimidated. It's fine. I said, look, the world is made up of so many different people. When they want to cast for a Black woman in her 50s, nobody else in this class can go for that. Only I can cast for that. So I thought, yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. The world, they need every kind of person to make up a movie. And that's exactly what happened. My first job was for NatWest Bank, and I was the face of NatWest Bank, and I was the mother of the bride.
So for
And
anybody watching this video and thinking, I recognize that face. Where have I seen that person before? I remember when I did my drama A level and I had to have a Henry Higgins for
mm,
my Pygmalion Eliza. And he'd been in some advert or another. And I
yeah,
remember, and I was like, I recognize your face. Yes. The Trio biscuit where his ear had
yeah.
been chopped off. And it was like,
Oh my God.
yes.
My face was everywhere. Probably look a bit different now. My hair is different. I've got glasses on, but my picture was everywhere. It was on the buses. It was on posters. It was on trains. It was in the newspapers. It was on TV, and the advert was on TV. Every second it was
So
on
how did you
TV.
find that though? Was that intimidating, or as a Christian, seeing your face everywhere?
Do you know
Or
what?
did you not just mind, or did you enjoy it? I don't
Do
know.
you know what? Right I remember sitting in the audition. And I looked around and I saw faces that I recognized on TV. And this was like my first job I was going for. And I was just like, oh God, what am I doing? Why am I here? And I had to talk to myself and I said, come on, you've got just as much right to be here as anybody else. It's fine. And what calmed me down, I started to pray and I said, Lord, I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't have the confidence to do this, but just give me the strength to just give them what they're looking for, just give them what they were looking for. And I went in and I did the performance. But 2 days later, my agent called and they said, Pearl, you got a recall. You got a I didn't even know what recall was. Okay, great. Yay. Oh, I'm sorry. What's that? What does that mean? And it's like, so they want to see you again. Come back again. Wear the same clothes, do everything, do exactly what you did before. I said, okay. Okay. So I went back again. And this time there were four of us, or like the 30 or the 40 of us that was in the room before. Now there's four of us. And I just said the same thing. And I said, God, it's just, I don't know what I'm doing. I got no experience. I got no anything. So just me to just give them exactly what they're looking for. So I did this, and then afterwards, my agent called me about a day later or 2 days later. She goes, "You got it. You got the job. You got the job. You got the job." And the thing that got me about that was when I was on set, the director said to me, he goes, "As soon as I saw you and what you did, he goes, you gave me exactly what I was looking for." And
Mm,
he goes, "I didn't have to see the others." He goes, "I saw them out of courtesy because they were already there. But you gave me exact," and that was the exact prayer that I prayed.
yes.
You
And I
know.
think having been in the other position as both auditioning for things and you
Mm,
just pray and saying, God, if this is right, it's just got
hmm.
to be authentic. Or
Yeah.
as a director and sort of auditioning people, you know what you're looking for. And sometimes you get someone else that comes along with something slightly different, but there's that
Yeah,
sense of knowing that,
exactly.
you can't, somebody else, even if they kept coming back again and again and did it differently, they probably still wouldn't fit the mold of
You're
what
right.
that person's looking for.
100%. And this is why I try now not to get offended if I don't get a role, because I think to myself, okay, yes, you were the right age. Yes, you were the right color. Yes, you were the, but it's just, what are they looking for?
Yes.
Sometimes they're just looking for something very specific. And I just like the way she walked in, or I like the way she walked in and she didn't sit down. Or she walked in and she sat down before she spoke to us. And I just kind of like that about her. So I'm giving it to her. It could be something random that has absolutely nothing to do with your audition. Just because after that,
Exactly.
I started to beat myself up about if I wasn't getting the work. And then I thought to myself, no, because you don't know what you're looking for. And I think God really just kind of gave me grace in the beginning to kind of help me to get into the industry. And then it was kind of like to fight for myself after that.
So you became the actor,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
got your doctorate, you
yeah,
set up your charity,
yeah.
and God was obviously at work in you. I
Oh,
think, we talked about just now how there was a need, so
mm,
you went to meet it. But
mhm,
the acting obviously it could appear that it's just a need in you.
mm,
But
mm,
you've kind of been transitioning. It's like it sounds as if God, there was a bigger picture at
yeah.
play that perhaps you weren't aware of when you just thought, I'm going to just scratch that itch, that need or
Oh,
desire to act. But what happened beyond that?
strangely enough, you say maybe not aware of. When my boys were young, so I had twin boys. When my husband and the boys we were in Disney World at the time in California, and we were watching Lion King, the live performance of the Lion King. And I sat there and was enjoying it, and then I went, "Huh?" And my husband said, "What? What happened? What have just happened?" And I said, "I just saw something." And I said, "Can you imagine what if imagine everybody we know who sings, we've grown up in a singing gospel community. Imagine if people we knew who are doing session singers for just about every big name around the world. What about if we got together, but then we got trained as actors and we could put on our own musicals in the West End under the anointing?" And I just thought, wow, that would be incredible. So when I started acting, I had the opportunity after doing a movie. I did. They sent me to Belize. I was in Belize for 3 weeks recording this movie for the Hallmark Channel. So I was there and I met some producers and directors and other people. And I had the opportunity to go to LA directly after that because it was like, oh, you should come to LA. You should, we could get you there, and you could audition for this and this and that. And I just thought, oh my God, really? I said, yeah, no, we think you're good enough, seriously. And then I thought, is that what I want though? I don't know. And what kept coming back to me was that vision that I saw 25 years ago of the gospel industry coming together and forming something under the anointing and taking the gospel out of church walls into the territory of the enemy, and just pretend like it's a musical. Yeah, but it's not. And then something happens in the room and people are going, okay, what's just happened to me? And why am I crying? And why am I this? And you go, yeah, that'll be the anointing. And we have to explain what's happening. And I kept seeing this thing of just God moving in the room. when we go and see, you know, the Prince of Egypt, or Joseph and his Technicolor Dreamcoat, it's nice, and the scenery's nice and the music and yeah. But what if we went and we did our version of any Bible story? And the West End of London is thanks to Andrew Lloyd Webber, is not alien to Bible stories. So
Mm.
we could take any Bible story, Esther or anybody, and to say, right, we're gonna form a production, and we're gonna put it on, and then people come in and they go, I just don't know what happened. I just don't understand what's going. Oh, what's happening? Why do I feel this way? Yeah.
I
So I thought I
remember.
need to. I need to create that. I need to
Mm.
create. I need to start putting the building blocks together to create that, and then that's how I got to where I am now.
Well, I remember at the age of about 18, 17, 18, going and seeing the original Les Mis up in
Yes.
London in the West End. And I
Hmm.
was not a Christian.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you had to have your moment since you were raised as a pastor's kid. You had your moment of kind of that, yeah,
Hmm.
like you said, feeling of being born again. Well, I was at the age of 19, but prior to that, while I was training as a professional dancer, I went to see, I don't know if I was 16, 17, whatever, to see Les Mis, and it was so powerful. I can't
Yeah.
explain what it did to me, but
Yeah.
I knew there were certain moments, like when, he traded the candlesticks for his soul and sort of said, this, I'm changing. And I didn't understand what it meant, but
Wow.
it resonated. It was so powerful. It was like God was speaking to me. He was calling to me, and I
Mm.
felt his presence, but I didn't know that's what it was at
Yeah.
the time. I
Yeah.
just knew that I had this powerful feeling inside whenever I then talked about Les Mis or watched the film or anything years later, because of that experience in the
Yeah.
theatre
Yeah.
at that time. And I do know of the power when God anoints something, when
Yes.
something brings truth, when it brings hope, when it brings life.
Mm.
There is something that people don't know what it is that's resonating in their spirit,
Yeah. Yeah.
but is powerful. And certainly a lot of what you're sharing, I've seen from 35 years ago or more, when I was first saved and moving in that space of
Yeah.
seeing God move. And even before then, knowing that he was going to use screens. I saw screens we didn't have, I
Wow.
was
Wow.
assuming it was going to be television. We didn't
Yeah.
have the internet or the web back
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
all the devices, but I saw people on their face before God crying, weeping. I mean, I saw it in the physical when we were in a band and we just saw God move powerfully and people would just
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
repenting. And I thought, to be able to see this where they're receiving the same message, but through screens, we were dancing
Ah,
and performing and singing and all
love
of
it.
that.
Love it.
And
Love it. Love
I've
it.
seen the power when
Yeah.
you bring something that
Yeah.
is of God through the creativity
Wow.
and the Holy Spirit moves. I've seen hundreds upon hundreds, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Mm,
And he actually
love
told
that.
me that what I saw back late 80s, early 90s, it really was a long time ago. He said, Sarah, that is just a glimpse, and most people haven't tasted or seen that. What
Exactly.
I'm about to do
Woo.
is going to explode, and I'm
It's gonna
raising a
explode.
creative
Just want to
army
be a
to
part of that.
my voice
Yes.
in
Yes.
this
Yes.
time.
Yes.
So anybody, you just caused me to do
Yes.
kind of look like a bit of advert, but if anybody wants to know more, I wrote a little bit about that in my book,
Oh,
Discern the Time.
lovely.
So
Beautiful.
a lot of what you're saying is resonating in my spirit. It's why I'm feeling
Mm.
excited here and passionate,
Ah, I love that.
because I'm seeing God raising up. But you've
Yeah.
got another really exciting thing that God has put in front of you, this vision that he's birthing through
Mm.
you, this GSPA. So can you
Yeah.
tell us exactly what that is,
Yeah.
what
So
it
basically,
involves?
GSPA. So when I went to the drama school that I went to, when I was leaving, I sat with one of the tutors and I said, "Okay, let me tell you what I really want to do. Yes, I've got an agent, and yes, I've started to do commercials. But what I really want to do, I was telling them about this gospel community that I'm a part of, that I grew up with, and everybody sings and this. I said, I want you to come in and teach us how to act." So, and I was halfway through, and he goes, "Yeah." I was like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, yeah, I'll do it, yeah." And I was like, "You said yes way too quickly." He goes, it's one of the best things that anybody's offered me for a very long time. And he goes, that sounds so exciting. He goes, absolutely, yes. So, oh, so since then, so one of my tutors, that's Chris, he has now come in and helped me to build the school, put all the modules together and everything. And now he's the principal of the school, which is so cool because the same person who used to teach me, I've brought him in now, and he basically works for me. and and is now teaching the gospel community
Wow.
to act. So I'm putting together exactly what I saw back then. So now it's a lot of it's online. So you can do it in your own time, and you can do it like that. So you learn the basics of acting. Lots of things you need to know. You don't need to be in a group to learn it. They're like fundamentals of acting, and how to dissect a script, and how to know what's happening, and what's this person trying to get the other person to do. And so there's lots of things that you can do on your own, and then we're all going to get together, and then we're going to do group activities and stuff like that, and rehearse, and then go off and do our first production. Yeah.
Wow, I do want to talk about that in a moment, about your bigger kind of ambition and dream.
Yeah.
And you've got quite high aspirations for this. But before we get to that point, you said you've launched already. Do you meet
Yes.
in do you have a physical building where when you get together, you're doing online, but all to have these in
Yes.
person?
So what we've done is, so as I said, the majority of it is online to start off with, and then we meet. So what we've been having so far is kind of like meetups, so that people can, we're sort of building this new gospel music theatre industry community. So people don't feel, because learning online by yourself can be quite lonely. So we
Yeah.
get everybody together, and then we have some food, and we talk about acting and people's desires and ambitions and things. So what we're going to do now is take that to another step. So now that we're actually up and running, is that when we come together, then we're going to start doing some acting exercises together, and then from there going to rehearsals, and then from there move on to productions.
So who is it open to? What sort of, do you have some experience, or is it like you, brand new, fresh start? Or if people that have done a bit of acting, what can they expect?
All of the above. So if you have done absolutely no acting in your lifetime, and you just think, oh my God, I'd just love to be on stage, or I would love to be on TV or in movies, or whichever bit that you feel that you could slot into. And we're starting with stage, but we're not ending with stage. And
Yes,
uh,
because film to acting to camera is
that's
very
right.
different to
Very
acting
different.
in theatre and on
Yeah,
stage. I
very,
actually used
very
to
different. Yeah.
be a drama teacher, but yes.
Yeah, very, very different, complete different discipline. Um, but we're starting off with stage. So if you've done absolutely no acting at all, then we have welcome to acting. That's for you. And if you've done some acting, so a lot of people have done a bit of acting. They've been in a church play, and they've been in this, and they've been in that, and they've had opportunities here and there, but they've never been trained. Then you come on to the foundation course in acting, and so some people are on the foundation, some people are on welcome to acting, and then but the idea is to sort of bring them through this pipeline where they, doesn't matter, you start with absolutely no knowledge whatsoever, and then you graduate, you move to the next one, you graduate the next one, until by the time you get onto stage, we're going to have you confident, you're going to be an actor.
So what can they expect if they're at home and they
Yeah.
are, coming through this program with you, whether it's the foundation or the beginners, are they just doing, monologues, or are you teaching them mechanics of acting?
Yeah.
What exactly can they sort of expect?
All of that, all of that they learn by themselves. They can learn the monologues, they can learn the mechanics of acting, what's actually happening in this scene. What do you think she's trying to say to him? What do you think that the response she's trying to get back from? So there's, it's all sort of, you can look at things and make your analysis, and we have it so that you can upload your videos, because your set assignments, and then you film your assignments, and then you upload them, and then the teacher will look at it and say, yeah, that's very good, that's very good, I love the way you did that. And I think maybe you might have missed that what she was actually trying to get him to do was do this and that and that. So you're critiqued, and you can go back and go, oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, yeah. So when you learn, no, because what happened was I did a pilot, right? This is this is how we arrived at here. I did a pilot. So I had this idea, and we did 3 days in the West End, and it just sold out. I mean, it sold out in days. It was gone. Um, but and but what we found is that when we did a little bit of training and then we had to rush and start doing rehearsals. But when we started to say things like, okay, everybody, stage right, and people like, stage right. Is that my right? Your right? So we realized that people didn't understand the very fundamentals of acting. So we said, all right, so next time, it was great that we started that because, and we did the pilot because we learned so much. We said, all right, so what we need to do now is separate the two. There needs to be just a bit. There's just where you just get trained, and once you've got trained, then we do productions. But we're not going to try and do acting and then productions and learning and product because people are like, I don't know what's happening, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it works out much better.
So that's nice and clear that you're kind of
Yeah,
taking people through the stage to be
yeah,
able to actually then be in the theatre
yes,
to perform, and
yeah.
then beyond that, looking at different kinds of acting, whether to camera or so
Awesome.
forth,
But those
beyond that.
people who have acted professionally, so some people have said to us, look, I've acted professionally, I've been in plays for years. You know, can I get involved? I'm like, yeah. It just means you don't need to be trained the fundamentals on that. You can just come straight in over here and we can just, you know, we can cast you for stuff in the productions. So there is room for everybody. And then some people have said, I don't want to be on stage, but I'd quite like to write some music. Do you need songwriters? I'm like, of course we do. Come on in. So we've got a skills form that people fill in. They said, well, I can write songs. Somebody say, well, I'm a dressmaker, and would you like me to help you make costumes? I'm like, yes. You know, well, somebody said, I'm a graphic designer. Would you need set designing? Yes. So we're building this, literally, we are building this industry. We could come in and I'd be shocked if you come to us and said, I do X and there is no space for you whatsoever. No,
Well,
we've not had it yet.
that sounds amazing. And I remember through lockdown actually editing for a theatre company,
Yeah.
or a theatre school. And, you know, they're not a Christian company, but they had all these playwrights and they'd written all these short scripts, and then all the actors filmed themselves, you know, just like this, to camera, and sent them in. And then my job was to edit them together to create
Wow.
that narrative,
Wow.
which was very exciting and
Yeah.
interesting to see people sort of communicating, even though they weren't in the same space, and
Yeah.
creating this amazing, you know, piece of theatre. But it sounds, you know, like you've got lots of creativity around you, but I know
Yeah.
your big picture, your kind of goal, your aim is to the West End.
Mhm.
Can you
Mhm.
tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I absolutely, because I love going to musicals. I know, I absolutely love going to musicals, and every time I go to a musical, I sit around and I think, yeah, we could do this. We could do. This is where we belong. This is where so we're going to the top. We'll be starting locally in some fringe theatre and tour around the UK and stuff like that, just so people can get their feet wet and get experience and all that. But the goal is for us to go to the West End and us to put on performances as anything in the West End. I
Well,
mean, why
you are
not?
picking up the banner. I don't know if you've ever heard of a man called Ray Gowdy. He's now in glory, but he was like a
Yeah.
father to me, part
Yes.
of the band that I was in, Heartbeat, many generations ago. But he actually produced, he decided the same. We'd released a couple of songs into the charts as a band, you know, and we did the kind of, you know, the whole kind of UK pop scene.
Yeah.
But he then turned his attention and said, I think God's told me to do a musical. And he'd never
Yep.
done anything. He'd never
Yep.
done any acting or
Yep.
anything. And he produced two musicals. People may have heard Love Esther and The Prodigal, and did
Oh
exactly that.
wow.
Took it round the fringe, had some West End producers or directors or people involved, choreographers involved in putting
Wow.
that together and bringing the Esther story and the Prodigal story alive. So
See?
just be encouraged. You're
Oh,
actually picking up the banner, you know, or
amen.
the, you know, and running with
Amen. Love
it.
that.
So, and there's so much I could say, because I have a lot in my heart and in my spirit, and I'm just so excited to see so much of what I've been seeing for many decades,
Yeah.
and tasted and knowing what God's saying he's going to do, and actually seeing this tangible evidence of God bringing people together.
Well,
for
I
that.
think
And
we are connected now in a in a very very powerful way. I mean, beyond this interview, I think you know our spirits have absolutely connected. You're somebody I want to keep in touch with, and your audience can come on board, and it'd be wonderful. And it's just we say gospel. I mean, point this out. We say gospel because a lot of us grew up in the Black church, but it's not just for Black singers. It's not at all. A really good friend of mine who was in my class at school, and Caucasian lady, and she was in my first pilot, and she was so good. And I said to her, Julia, I said, right, this is what I'm doing. I'm doing a drama school. And she goes, I really want you involved. She goes, you know, I'm there for her. I'm there for you. You know? So she's there. So I'm just like, come on, we need to mix this up a little bit. Let's do this. It'll be great. You know. So it's no, there's no, this is not our thing. We're not doing that. Yeah.
I think for me, being half Chinese but born in Croydon,
Oh,
brought up by, you know, my parents divorced when I was 5, so I was brought up by my
oh,
white English mother,
yeah,
and I've never fitted in. I don't
yeah,
fit
me
in
neither,
those
me
kind of
neither.
ethnicity
Always been
circles
odd,
at
yeah.
all.
Mhm.
So when people talk about gospel, I always think it's good news. I
Yes,
work with so many gospel artists. I'm surrounded by them so often, and I just
wow,
think this is the good news we're bringing,
yeah,
no matter what
100%.
color or background you
Yeah,
have.
yeah,
This is the heart. And yes, the gospel music scene came out of that time. I was speaking to, who was I speaking to now? The name's gone out of my head. I know it really well.
mm,
But yes, talking about the gospel, you know, born out of that hard slavery, that time,
yeah,
but how
yeah,
many of us have gone through that real extreme, challenging
yeah,
years in our own lives?
100%.
And
Yeah,
it's when we hold on to the truth and when we
mm-hmm,
sing,
mm-hmm.
we choose to praise, we choose to worship through the
Yeah,
hard times, like Habakkuk showed us to do. You know,
mm.
even though I don't see yet, I will praise you.
Yet I
That
will
actually,
praise
to
you.
me, that's what the gospel message
That's
is
right.
bringing good news that hope comes beyond what we sometimes is our current experience. It's the
Yeah,
choice to celebrate something that we
yeah,
know is going to come in eternity, that we're investing for a future.
yeah.
So I know
Amen.
as well you have got a couple of, is it students or teachers attached to your
Oh,
project?
yes. So a couple of us, the students that have just started to come on. I mean, I don't know if your audience would be aware, but two of them really, I mean, they're just so humble and they're just so gorgeous. But they have big names in gospel. They've been around for a long time, they're uh, won so many awards and everything. So one is Lurine Cato and one is Jason Porter. And so they're both, yeah, they're big names in gospel, and they both decided they would come on and be part of the school and be part of the production, which means we are already building our voices when we go out to the world to say, yeah, have you heard this?
Well, I've met Lorraine. I was actually speaking at the International Music Summit and she was
Yeah,
there, and wow, her voice. I know she has an
incredible.
MBE and a MOBA,
Yeah,
so some
yeah,
people may have heard of her because she's been
yeah,
on various TV
yeah.
and national things, not just gospel, but she
Mm,
has this power voice as well as a powerful testimony. She's been
yes,
through some extreme adversity and she
yeah.
now has that purpose that drives her. And yes, I've heard this power voice that she has. I don't know Jason, but can
Yeah.
you tell us a little bit perhaps about him or about Lorraine
Oh,
for people that
Jason.
don't
So
know?
Jason's been around for a while, but he was on The Voice, the competition, and so he was chosen by Jennifer Hudson because he was that good. She turned around and and slapped that thing, and but he was out. He went out in one of the rounds quite near the end, almost did it, but he is absolutely incredible. I have to say, I'm almost like a little secret stalker of Jason. I mean, yeah, he's really
Now
so
he'll
good.
know.
Oh yeah, now he'll know if I see anything. I'll go, oh, is that Jason? You know, he's just one of my favorite singers. To have him,
We'll
then
all
I'm
be stalking him now to find out
yeah.
who he is.
He is amazing. Jason Nicholson Porter. His name is phenomenal, phenomenal. Just like Lurine, phenomenal. So we're really happy, really, really blessed to have these two attached because that just makes the world of difference as well.
So they're
Yeah,
transitioning that, or should I expanding their skill set to
expanding
go
their skill set.
beyond the music? I know as a former dancer and, you
Yeah,
know, been in the whole theatre and film that actually creatives, I don't sing. That's the one
mm,
thing. But my husband did say to me, Sarah, the reason you don't, I love
yeah.
to sing and I'll sing very loud. But if you see me
Yeah,
in church or anything, you know, just stand a little bit further away because I can't help myself because it's just,
yeah,
you know, comes
lovely,
out.
isn't it? Yeah.
But he said the reason, Sarah, because otherwise all you'd do is sing. And actually you
Mm,
need to be there to help others to pull out and draw out their skill set. So that's
wonderful, wonderful. That's great. He's very good. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
I've
so
got one of those as well. Really good husband, supporter. Yeah. Woo. You
so
need.
what is your anchor? You know, you say you survived cancer, you've gone
Mm,
through that. I don't know where your journey, whether it came to an end or where you've just carried on with you living that one day at a time with the
mm,
threat of anything like that. But what is your anchor? Because I know for anybody that I speak to or coach or
mm,
anything, that life is never just we survive something and then it's wonderful. People
mm.
often think, you know, you went through your hard time and then it's amazing. You know,
Never know.
life is a challenge. Daily
Yeah.
we have
Life
different
doesn't
things.
really happen like that.
And so what is your anchor? What is your go-to? What would you speak that would encourage others?
Do you know what? I have got to the point in my life, as I said, being a PK, I was in church because I didn't really have a choice. And when you pastors, when your dad's the pastor, you don't have a choice. And then I sort of remember growing up and just being in church because I was scared, and I still want to go to hell, And then especially in the black church, everything you did sent you to hell. I mean, going to the cinema sent you to hell. Sort of combing your hair to the left, to the right sent you to hell. Everything. So I remember just growing up, just being really afraid of God and really paranoid that God, he could come back any minute now, and then I could go to hell. Um, but I've reached the stage now where I feel my relationship is God. In Him I live, in Him I breathe, in Him I have my whole being. I feel that I'm alive because He says it's okay for you to be alive. I'm alive because He says I let you breathe today, Pearl, and I say thank you so much. And we have this relationship where I just think, God, you're amazing, and I am in love with him, and I want to be a part of what he's doing. Revival is just about to break out in the UK, and I want to be a part of that. And so many things prophetically we're just about to step into, and I just think to myself, I want to be a part of that. I don't want to be on the sidelines. I feel like I've been through enough now where I know for sure you are my God. I choose you. I choose to be on your side. I don't want to be on that side. And anywhere you are, that's where I want to go. Don't leave me behind. Don't let me be stuck here doing today because that's what we've done for the last 40 years and you've moved on and I've not noticed. I need to be wherever you are. And two prayers I pray, three prayers I pray every single day. One is Psalms 91, because I feel in this time where we are now, we
Mm,
are in a time where it's very, very dark,
protection.
and we need the protection of the
Mm.
Lord to keep us. Otherwise, we are just going to get roped into all kinds of dangerous
And
situations.
for
And
anyone that doesn't know, that psalm is he who dwells in the shelter of the Most
oh
High will rest in the
yes,
shadow of the Almighty.
and it's literally been
He is the
covered by his
fortress.
feathers.
Yes.
And when, especially now when you hear people talk about war, and things that if that building blows up, help me not to be on the street over there, help me to be over there, and I need your shadow to just protect me all the time. It's like an invisible force field, just go with me. There's that one, and there is, except God builds the house, we labor in vain. What
Mm.
I'm tired of just making plans and say, "They are God, bless that,
Mm.
please." And then we beg him to bless it, please. Won't you bless it? Oh, can you remember me? Can you bless it? And I've learned, Sarah, how to just say, God, can you just put me in the middle of what you're doing?
You
because
know,
whatever you're
yes.
doing, that's gonna work.
Yes,
Oh,
that is so in line. I mean, the subtitle of my book is, discern the time. Can you hear the call to be positioned for purpose? But so often we're
position.
talking about your
Oh,
purpose,
it's
but actually no,
important.
God's purpose, that we come in alignment
Yeah,
with
yeah.
his purpose because he already has the
You
timeline.
know the purpose.
He's
And
already
this is the
seen it.
thing. That's what I'm saying. Have you, girl? And I was like, we're gonna kill like a house on fire. Because I spent most of my life trying to just fit in, and I've never fitted in ever. And even then, when I started to think about purpose, it was still about my purpose. What is my purpose? And how, and then lots, this self-help books and stuff that you hear about and sort of read, they tell you to find your purpose. And I realized that's not that's not what works. You have to find God's purpose. And then how do you fit in?
Yeah,
Because all things work together for them who are
yeah.
called according to his
His
purpose,
purpose.
not your purpose. Otherwise, you'll
Yes,
forever be
al-
they're like, oh God, can you
alignment.
bless this? Oh, I've got this business over here, this little glass over here. Can you bless my glasses? God's like, well, I've been trying to get you to write a book for the last 10 years. If you write the book, it would be a bestseller, but you're not interested. You're interested in your glass of lemon water business. And then it's like, oh, God's like, I'm not interested in that.
Well,
So
I
it's
was
finding
literally
his purpose.
writing a different book that I do believe is God because he gave me all the titles and it's for creatives. But he
Yeah.
said to me, and someone got offended when I said this recently. I said, they're not ready. God said they're not ready, but they didn't hear why I said they're not ready. I think anyway, I don't know. They took it out. It's very easy to take things out of context when you
Yeah.
only see a snippet. But it was like he just stopped me and said, no, you write this book right now
Yeah.
because there's
And
an urgency. There is an urgency that God
yeah,
is calling out to hear, to
yeah.
discern,
Hmm.
to know what he's speaking. And I love the fact as I'm speaking to you that you're discerning what he's speaking, you're discerning his will, you're discerning what he's doing in the spirit, and you are aligning to that with
Yeah.
the skill set, with the desires, with the things that he's put already inside of you.
Yeah. And you ask that, what's my anchor? That is my anchor. And if I just want to say, God, just keep me in the center of your will. If you
Amen.
move two steps that way, nudge me to move over as well. Don't just sort of leave me over here and you've gone down the roads. Don't do that.
And what I love is, in actual fact, he chooses to use us, but he
Yeah.
doesn't need us.
Yes.
He
Yeah.
can use a
It's a
donkey.
privilege. It's a
If
privilege.
if we don't, he says, I'll use somebody else. I was reading that in scripture the other day. If they
100%.
don't, I'll find somebody else. But he doesn't need us, but he chooses to use us.
A privilege.
And it is such a privilege, such an honor. And it's been such a joy and a privilege and an honor speaking to you, Pearl.
Thank you.
Reminds me of my Pearl. I often say this has been developed, apart from 30 years of marriage,
Under
but it
pressure.
comes out of grit. It
Uh,
comes out of an aggravation. It comes out of
under
something
pressure.
unwanted. And
Hmm.
you got that cancer, which was unwanted in the
Yeah.
natural, yet God covered it with his grace.
That's
He
right.
strengthened you through it. And
Yes.
something beautiful is coming as a result of it. So I do pray huge blessing on the
Thank you.
venture, and
Bless
who
you.
knows how we may connect in the future.
Yeah, lovely. So if anyone wants to get involved, if you think to yourself, do you know what? Or you just want to be informed, when our next production is, I mean, just go to my website. So go to pearljarrett.com. So Pearl Jarrett's all one word.com/GSPA. GSPA, that's
And
the
that's the
Gospel
God.
School for Performing Arts. That's it.
And I will put the link there so that people know.
Lovely.
I will let people know. But
Lovely.
so if they're wanting to sign up to
Uh-huh.
be in the Gospel School of Performing Arts, when do you start? Is this a rolling entrance, or
Yeah.
is there a particular term date that you start? How does
Well,
that work?
we've just started, but you've got time now to just jump in, and that's fine because you can catch up easily. So that the assignments are not long. So if somebody's already done theirs last week, you could do two this week easily, easy. So yeah, we're not trying to make it complicated. We just need to learn the basics. So yeah, get involved. Just get involved. Let's do this. Let's change the world.
Exciting, exciting. Well, I'm looking to watch this space and see how it
Thank
goes.
you. Thank
Been
you.
such a privilege, such a
Ah,
blessing. Thank
thank
you
you.
so much, Pearl.
All right. Well,